because you're going to be working with the bacteria with your hands. Keep your hands away from your head. If you have to touch your face or anything, remove your gloves, wash your hands, do what you need to do, put your gloves back on, continue with your experiment. If you leave the lab at any time during the experiment, wash your hands before you leave the lab to do whatever you're going to do. And put your gloves back on when you come back in. And of course, when you're finished the whole lab, wash your hands before you leave.
Baby, since you're here, you can take pictures.
And today is one of those days where that scrub for at least 15 seconds comes in. So when you have the soap on, scrub for at least 15 seconds before you wash off. Okay. First thing you have to do is prepare a smear before you can stain. So some of our equipment that we're going to use to make our smear are an inoculating loop, and your staining tray is what you're going to use to stain with. You need a microscope slide. This little clip is just to hold the slide when you have to pass it through your flame. Your striker, your Bunsen burner, and that should be about it. And a beaker of distilled water, so you need a thing of distilled water. Yes?
What's this?
This is just a support. You're going to put your slide on there. Okay, so first thing you need to do is wash your slides with soap and water and make sure they're completely clean, especially oil-free. So wash them with soap and water and then make sure they're nice and dry. I'm just going to assume that this slide has been washed, but it hasn't. Let's start by lighting our burner. You also need a wax pencil. And we're going to use wax pencils instead of markers because we're using ethanol to rinse our slides, and ethanol will take the marker off the slide. So you want to label your slide with whatever bacteria you're going to do. Usually we just put the first initial, like on the board here, the first initial of the first name and then the second name. So I'm just going to put actually I think I took out staph epidermidis. So I'm going to put SE in one corner so that I know that this is staph. And then, I can't really read that, but anyway. And then on the other side, I'm going to draw a nice big circle. And this is going to be my target for where I want to make my smear. Okay? Now, I drew the the circle on one side, but I'm actually going to put my smear on the other side. The circle is just a visual target for you.
Oh my God.
Make sure you have a flame that you can control, so we don't need it to be this big. Hair is pulled back and you have on your safety glasses. Okay, to prevent contamination between every application of bacteria, you're going to burn your loop. And you're going to burn it until it turns red. So when I put it in, I'm going to hold it there until it turns red. And I'm going to burn it all the way up the entire wire.
And you're doing that for what reason?
To
sterilize.
Sterilize.
You did this when you sterilize your baby's bottles, right? Not this, but you sterilize them, right?
In water.
Yeah, in hot water. Yeah. It's the same concept, so they didn't need any pathogens.
Okay, it's sterile right now. If I didn't use it and I put it back on the bench, and I picked it up and I wanted to do something, what do I have to do first? Sterilize it again. So the point is that you sterilize between every application, whether you put this loop on the bench, whether you put it in your bacteria, anything. If the loop touches something, it's not sterile anymore. So if you want it to be sterile, you have to burn it again.
Isn't it not sterile because it's like in the air?
Well, we can't really do anything about the spores in the air, so
yeah,
we do what we can. We do the best that we can.
You don't do this under fume hood in like medical?
In medical laboratories, they have what they call, and we have one in the back here, which is where I pour your plates to prevent spores from falling onto the plates. We have a laminar flow hood, and it has a HEPA filter in it, and it forces the air through the HEPA filter, and the HEPA filter catches all the microbes, and it pushes out pure air. But they're very expensive, so we only have one. So we do the best we can. Okay, so to prepare your smear, you're going to have your beaker of distilled water. And we are doing a smear from solid media. I think your lab procedure gives you instructions on how to do a smear from liquid media. But we're just going to do solid media.
I have a question.
Yes?
When do you...
So I'm going to take my sterile loop and dip it in my distilled water just to get a loop full of water and place that on my slide.
So we don't sterilize the slide?
You washed it with soap and water first.
Because you had something with the...
I said I'm going to pretend that this is sterile. I know I'm not, but I didn't even wash it. Huh?
You wash it with this? You just said this is what you were using.
No, you hold
No,
it.
that's for later.
Yeah, you shouldn't put it down on the
Okay, so I put my water on my slide. I'm going to sterilize my loop again.
I didn't leave my bed.
Yeah, that's a little bit of water.
Yes, just one loop full of water. That's all you need.
I didn't touch one that day.
Then I'm going to open up my bacterial sample.
Whoa.
Now you can use the same piece of parafilm to wrap it between, your group doing it, but at the end you should put a fresh piece of parafilm around it, at the very end. Now another thing you want to do is after you flamed your loop, don't take it directly from the flame and put it on your bacteria, because the agar will steam and melt. Yeah, exactly. So just let it cool for a second or two. Now when you do this, you only need to touch the surface of the bacteria like that. Do not go in there and scrape the bacteria off the agar surface. So I have a tiny bit of agar on the tip of my loop, and I'm going to smear it in that drop of water that I put. And make sure you smear it all around your target circle.
Cool.
Then what do I do?
Sterilize.
Sterilize my loop because it has living bacteria on the tip of it.
That's gross.
That's why you want to make sure that tip gets red hot so that you incinerate it. So there's no chance of it
That's
living
muggy dog.
anymore.
It's not done.
That is a
I'll be
muggy
burning that
dog.
for a good hour.
Okay? So I'm done with that.
Yeah, like
Tashana.
Now once you have your bacteria smeared in your water, you're going to use your clip. To fix the bacteria to the smear, you pass it through your flame lightly.
okay.
Just like that until all the water has evaporated. So if you put it on a slant, you can see a reflection. And when all the water has evaporated, you shouldn't see that reflection
I knew it
anymore.
was going to die.
I don't know, it's back on. So that's not enough to kill the bacteria.
Yeah, the bacteria, well, they'll be dead. By the time
Oh,
you
so they're
flame them and
dead.
put all this stain and alcohol on them, they'll be dead.
All right then.
Can you dig that
What
from
do
the
we want to see him move around, swim?
That's okay.
None of these bacteria are swarmers, so you wouldn't see them move anyway. Okay, so then that is the first step. That's your smear preparation.
Okay.
Now, when you do your smear, I tell you to just touch the surface of that bacteria and not to scrape it up. If you have too much bacteria on your slide, you won't be able to see individual cells. It'll just look like one purple mass of dye. So you want to smear them really good so you spread out the cells. So when you look under the microscope, you actually see different bacteria cells. And then you go into the gram stand. The instructions are also in the kit. Basically, you just keep your slide over your dish, and you can do all three at once, right? I made that smear. I could go right back and make my other smear, leave that one drying, and have all three smears lined up, and then just go. Is this crystal violet? No. It's crystal violet, then iodine, then alcohol, then safranium, but these instructions are also in the kit, which tell you step by step which one is which. Put my drops of crystal violet to cover my smear. And you have timers on your bench. You need to leave each stand on for a minute. So we leave that for a minute, but if I had the other two ready, I could just put the dye on all three and leave them to set for a minute.
That's a lot.
Can we turn the fire off?
Yes.
That looks like a lot.
Says you gotta cover it completely.
Just cover your target circle completely. Leave it for a minute. Then I'll wash that off. I'm not going to really, this is going to take up time, but anyway. If it had been a minute, I would wash this off. Now when you wash it, what you don't want to do is go like this and squirt it right into the circle because you might wash your smear off. Gently let the water run around your circle. So squirt it somewhere else on the slide so that the water just rolls over your smear. And then put it back on here. Go to your next one, which will
So
be
you actually
iodine.
completely before proper way.
It doesn't. It depends how much bacteria you put on there. Because if you smeared it with a lot of bacteria, the bacteria is going to hold the stain. So you might see a little bit of purple, but you should not see. It should not be. Your circle should not be completely purple. You should be able to still see through it. It should be transparent. Okay. And then you just go into the next iodine, ethanol, safranium, doing the same thing. Remembering, trying not to wash the smear completely away. And then the last thing you have is some bibulous paper. Every desk has a book of bibulous paper. You don't need to rip the paper out. You just open it, put your slide down, and close it over it to let the water absorb away. And then you can view your slides with the microscopes. Remember, to see bacteria clearly, you need to go all the way up to 100 times, and that's oil immersion. So please do not rotate the ocular to the 100 lens if you don't have oil on your slide. Okay? And at the end, make sure you clean the oil off. The oil does harden onto the lenses, which damages our microscopes. So you got to cut an alcohol swab over at the desk and wipe that oil off before you pack your scope away. Any questions? Okay.
That was a lot.
That was a lot, right?
We don't
But
have
just
a
take your
phone.
time.